Hi, welcome to the Everything Tomato video on quick Italian tomato pie. First we'll look at everything we need to get started. We use a basic oven roasting pan, measures 14.5 by 11.5 inches. They're usually about 1 to 1.5 inches deep. These pie pans can be substituted with a high-sided baking pan. It'll work just the same. The dough we use is the Bridgeford Ready dough. This stuff is really good. It comes in 3 1-pound loaves, and for our recipe we use 1.5 doughs. You can use 2 doughs for a thicker recipe if you like your tomato pie thick. We only use flour for dusting the board and working the dough. That's about it for that. The olive oil we use is extra virgin olive oil, and that's going to be used on both the bottom of the pan and on top of the tomato pie dough. We use Kraft Parmesan cheese for our cheese. You can use a higher grade cheese if you like, but this stuff really works well for this quick tomato pie recipe. Our seasonings are going to be parsley flakes, oregano, and basil, all dried. And if you like a little spicy, we use a little crushed red pepper. Now you have to remember, your tomato, you can use any kind of tomato sauce if you have a leftover sauce from Sunday dinner, your favorite jarred tomato if you want a quick one from the coming home from work kind of deal. But we're going to use a marinara or marinara used by our family, and there's a recipe for that on everythingtomatoes.net. And we'll get going, and we'll get started here and show you how this thing works. Okay, let's get started. This dough will come frozen from the grocery store. It should be available in most grocery stores, frozen case. And like I said, there's 3 loaves in each pack, and we're going to use 1.5 of these doughs. Now obviously they're a little stout when you get them out of the freezer. So to use 1.5 doughs, we're just going to simply cut the one in half. Keep it, and you put the other one back in the freezer, and then you have 2 tomato pie dinners, or use them for snacks, or if you're having a party or something like that, they're a great appetizer. So we put this thing back in the freezer, and you're ready to go for another time. The doughs, what you want to do right now is they have to really loosen up here a little bit. If you're planning this dinner, it's going to take about an hour and a half roughly. You just want to dust them up for when they start spreading, so there's no sticking on everything. They're going to get real loose in about an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours if you want them to get really loose. And the reason you want to do that is because when you start putting this into the pan, you want it to stretch well, and you want it to be able to be poked for holes to hold that oil in the top. It's really crucial to have a good tomato pie, to have some oil in there mixed in with your tomato sauce. So as soon as these things are rising, we'll get back and get it going. Okay, what you want to do next is, as the dough's getting a little softer before it's totally softened up, you want to combine these pieces, whether you're using the 1.5 or the 2. You want to combine them and just knead them a little bit. And fold them under, get a little air in there, get some air pockets going. Pretty simple process. Get a little dust on them. We're going to let this set again. And once this, now that it's combined, once it grows one more time, we'll be ready to press it in the pan and get this thing ready for some tomato pie. The dough is risen. Now we're just going to try and get it basically in the shape of this pan. Now this is a quick tomato pie recipe. The way to do this is, if you were going to work, you would take the dough out from frozen in the morning, let it sit there while you're getting ready, and then form the 2 doughs, put it in the refrigerator and cover it while you're gone. That way when you take it out, it's pretty quick when you get home. Other than that, the rest of the recipe is pretty fast. You're just going to punch this dough down and try and get the basic shape to get it fit in that pan. A couple swings. We'll get this shaped up and we'll show you what to do when you oil the pan and get the dough going. As you're working it, you want to make sure that you keep the basic size of the pan. So you want to just sort of do one of these deals, make sure everything fits. The ends notoriously won't square up, but you just want to make sure you got good level dough all the way around. And once you get this thing in the pan, it'll get to the shape. So that'll get us pretty close. So what we do now is we get a little oil, actually a bunch of oil, and we're going to just put some oil in here and make sure everything's oiled up throughout the pan. Because when this thing rises up, we don't want anything sticking to the sides. It'll come out nice and easy, and that oil is definitely going to get a nice effect on the bottom of the dough once it starts cooking. So once we get that done, it's time to put our dough in. And again, you're just going to work it around a little bit until it fits all the spots, or close enough. Just want to get it in there. Now what we'll do on this one is we'll let this sit a little bit and it'll puff up. And then what we're going to do is give it some finger pokes. And then we'll start putting it together and get it in the oven real quick. Your oven's going to be at 350. It's a nice even cook. It'll take about 15 minutes to a half hour depending on how hot your oven gets. But we'll give this thing a little time to rise up and we'll start putting the sauce and the seasonings and get in the oven. When you do put it in the oven, you want to put it on the middle rack. That way you won't get too much heat on the bottom and it won't, burn the bottom of the pot. The dough's had a little puff time now, as you can see when you do the finger imprints. You can get it nice and deep in there, and that's going to be the home of some oil that we're going to spread on the top. And we get around the edges also, because do a nice golden look on the outside, and this is pretty easy stuff here. You can use less if the oil freaks you out, I guess, but the flavor's there with this oil on the pie. And all you need to do at this point is to add the sauce. Now, usually 2 cups does it. This is the homemade marinara sauce, as they like to say, marinara. You can find this on everythingtomatoes.net. And this is a half cup. We're going to put on a half cup at a time. Some people like a lot of sauce, some people like a little sauce. Somewhere between 1.5 cups. If you like a real wet tomato pie, you can go with 2 cups. You just want to get it mixed in there with the oil. I think that'll about do it. And just get it evened out. Measuring cup's pretty handy for this. You don't have to get any crazy tools or anything. Okay, after we get that on, the oven's already preheating at 350, and we're going to sprinkle our Parmesan. Again, you can use Parmesan of your choice. You would cover this up pretty good. Get a little on the outside though, it doesn't matter, flavors that up too. Just want to get it so it's kind of covered up. Snowstorm action there. And then as soon as you get it where you want it, some people like to really cake it on. I just like to get it so it's covering the sauce there. The rest is just sprinkling on parsley, oregano, and basil. Some people like this real thick on there. Some just like it dusting. That's the parsley, the basil, and the oregano. As you do this, you'll find out which of the seasonings you want a little more on. Some people just like it with a little parsley and keep the other 2 light. Kind of even it up in the beginning to make sure what you're looking for. And obviously, if you like red pepper, let it go. So this is ready to put in the oven. We're going to put it in the oven 350. And then when this thing comes out, we're going to have a nice golden Italian tomato pie. This is the pie at 15 minutes. What we're going to do now is turn around the oven and let it go till the end, till the edges are real brown. It's starting to brown around the edges right now, but what we do with this is just give it a spin. Most of the times, most people's ovens are a little hotter in the back, so we're just trying to make sure we get a nice even heat on this thing and get it nice and brown. Okay, it's been in the oven 25 minutes, and I think that's about what we need. That's what it looks like. What you want to make sure is, depending on your oven, how hot this pan gets at the bottom, you just want to make sure it's dark underneath. This one could have gone 22, but you can see the crust is it's got a nice brown to it there. And we're going to let that cool down. The thing about tomato pie, you can eat it hot, but we like it at room temperature. It's a good snack pizza, it's not really a pizza, good snack tomato pie. And enjoy. This is the Italian tomato pie from everythingtomatoes.net. Okay, we let this cool down a little bit now. And it is time to put on the cutting board. And all the greasing we did earlier made that an easy chore. As you can see, this thing just slides right on out and it's good to go. What we'll do is cut off a little piece so you can see what it looks like from the side view. And it's still a little warm. But that's the tomato pie. The side view, you can see it penetrates into the crust. This is the 1.5 pound dough. 2 pound dough is going to bring it up to here. Some people actually like it as a 1 pound dough, about half this size. Try it at 1.5, see what you like. You can always make it more or less. But enjoy this Italian tomato pie from everythingtomatoes.net.